My parents gave my room to my cousin while I was away at college. I came home furious, until I discovered the secret my dad had been hiding from everyone. When I came home that Sunday, there was a stranger sleeping in my bed. I stood in the doorway for probably 10 seconds before I even processed what I was looking at. My old desk was gone, my posters were gone. Even the little shelf where I'd kept my things since high school had been cleared out, and my cousin was asleep under my blanket. I quietly closed the door. Then I walked downstairs and asked my mom one question. "Where's my stuff?" She didn't even look surprised. She just sighed and said, "We were going to talk to you about that." That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I'd been away at university for almost 5 months. My campus was about 3 hours from home, so I didn't come back very often. Between classes, assignments, and a part-time job, I usually stayed near campus. My parents knew that, and honestly, I didn't mind being away. Home had always been a little complicated. My dad was quiet most of the time. My mom worried about everything, and my younger sister somehow managed to turn every family discussion into an argument. But despite all that, my bedroom had always been my safe place. I'd lived in that room since I was 13, so when I came home that Sunday, seeing someone else sleeping there felt strangely personal. I went downstairs. My mom was making tea. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table reading something on his phone. I said, "Why is my cousin in my room?" My mom put the cup down. "He's staying with us for a while. Okay, but why is he in my room?" She looked at my dad. That tiny glance between them told me there was something they weren't saying. My dad finally looked up. "We thought you weren't using it anymore." I laughed because I genuinely thought he was joking. "I've been gone for 5 months, Dad. I didn't move out." "We know. Then why did you give away my room?" My mom interrupted. "We didn't give it away." I pointed upstairs. "There's literally someone sleeping in it." She rubbed her forehead. "We needed the room." "Why?" Neither of them answered. And that made me even more suspicious. I went upstairs and found my bags stacked in the hallway. Not packed, just thrown together. My old clothes were stuffed into 2 boxes. My books were in a plastic bag. My computer monitor was sitting on the floor. I picked up one of the boxes. "Mom," she came upstairs. "Where am I supposed to put this?" "You can keep your things in the storage room." I stared at her. "The storage room? It's only temporary." I looked back at the boxes. "You couldn't even ask me." She didn't answer. I was angry, but I wasn't yelling. I just wanted an explanation. Then my mom said something that completely changed the conversation. "Your cousin doesn't have anywhere else to go." I stopped. "What?" She looked exhausted. "His parents kicked him out." I knew my cousin had been having problems at home, but I hadn't heard anything about him being kicked out. "When did that happen?" 3 weeks ago, and nobody told me." My mom hesitated. "We didn't want to bother you." That annoyed me even more. "So instead, you just gave him my room." "We needed somewhere for him to sleep." I looked at her. "You could have put him in the guest room." She went silent. "There was a guest room." I knew there was. Then she finally said, "The guest room isn't available anymore." "Why?" She looked toward the stairs. "Because your dad is sleeping there." That was the first time I noticed something. My dad wasn't wearing his usual clothes. He was still wearing the same work shirt he'd worn the day before. I looked at my mom. "What happened?" She didn't answer. So I went downstairs. My dad was still sitting at the table. I asked him directly, "What's going on?" He stared at his phone. "Nothing." "Dad," he sighed. Then he put his phone down. "I lost my job." I just stood there. He'd lost his job 3 weeks earlier, the same week my cousin came to stay. Suddenly everything made sense. My dad had been sleeping in the guest room because he didn't want my mom to see him sitting around the house all day. My cousin was in my room because they needed to make space. And my parents hadn't told me because they were embarrassed. I sat down. "Why didn't you tell me?" My dad shrugged. "What was I supposed to say?" "Anything." He looked at me. "I've spent 25 years working. I didn't know how to tell my son that I couldn't find another job." That completely killed my anger. I didn't know what to say. I'd spent the entire morning thinking my parents had simply decided I didn't matter anymore, but they'd actually been trying to keep everything together. That night, I went upstairs and talked to my cousin. He apologized immediately. "I didn't know they were going to move your stuff." "I know. I told them I'd sleep on the couch." I laughed. "You'd freeze to death in that living room." He smiled. Then he got serious. "I'm sorry." I told him it wasn't his fault. He didn't choose any of this. We talked for about an hour. He told me his parents had been fighting for months, and eventually they told him he couldn't stay there anymore. He'd been too embarrassed to tell anyone. I realized then that everyone in my family had been hiding something from everyone else. My dad was hiding that he'd lost his job. My cousin was hiding that he'd been kicked out. My mom was hiding how worried she was. And I'd been hiding how hurt I'd felt about being away from home. Nobody was actually angry with each other. We were just all terrible at talking. The next morning, I moved my boxes into the storage room. My mom tried to apologize again. I told her it was okay. But I did make one rule. If you ever give away my room again, at least text me first. She laughed. My dad laughed too. Even my cousin started laughing. A few weeks later, my dad found another job. My cousin eventually went back to live with his parents after they worked things out, and I got my room back. But when I returned home for Christmas, something was different. My old posters were still gone. My desk was still in the storage room, and there was a mattress on the floor where my bed used to be. I looked at my mom. What happened now? She smiled. We turned your room into the guest room. I stared at her. You're kidding. She laughed. Don't worry, your stuff is safe. I looked around. For the first time, I didn't really care. Because I'd finally understood something. A bedroom is just a room. Home is the people who are willing to make room for you, even when things aren't going the way they planned. And honestly, I'd rather have lost my room for a few months than never found out what my family had been going through.